Alright, so Peter Mckinnon just released a video on his YouTube channel talking about the best prime lens ever. Period. His go-to bad boy. The RF 51.2. And it's not wrong. It's a very delicious piece of glass. But the thing is, it's going to set you back around 3,500 Australian dollars. If you can't afford it, is that it? You just move on? You forget about it? Or no, you go with the plan B. I'm going to talk about the 1.2 50mm EFL version, which is this one right here. And I'm going to convince you guys that it's as good as the RF lens. Alright guys, so for me this 50mm 1.2 has been my go-to for street photography and portrait photography. Because obviously, if you want my honest opinion with the RF versus the EF version, the only difference is the RF version has more aperture blades. It has 10 other than the EFL having 8, and the motor is more updated. Obviously the EFL version is about 15 to 20 years old, so the motor in that bad boy, it's a little bit slower. Hence why the RF lens is chunkier and heavier than the EFL. But the thing is, the photo and video quality is very, very similar. That's why I highly recommend this lens. So when I'm shooting outside, most of the time for street photography in Sydney, I'm always using my STM glasses. But if I want something more creamier, more high quality and that, I always grab my 50 EFL. And some of these shots that I've taken with the guys when we were shooting, obviously speaks for itself. The quality, the bokeh at the back, and just the texture that this lens can produce with the EOS R is very, very similar with the RF lens. But this lens, in my honest opinion, excels in a portrait studio like some of these shots right now. So I have been shooting portraits for about 2 years, and I've shot with all the portrait lens you can think of, going from Zeiss, with manual lenses, going from G Masters, Sony's, some of the Lumix Micro Four Thirds, Sigmas, Rokian, and everything in between. But for me, this 51.2 is the best portrait lens that works for me in my studio here. All of these shots are taken using with one light, one camera, and one freaking lens. And as you guys can see, these shots, in my opinion, are probably one of the best shots I've ever taken in my 2 years in this photography game. And you know what? This lens, it's not cheap by any means. It's gonna cost you about $2,200 at George's Cameras, but it's not gonna fork out $3,500 for the RF version. So you're looking at, $1,500 savings. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you can't afford the EFL Canon, there's always a third-party lens that I highly recommend, and it's the Sigma 50mm 1.4. The only difference is the shallow depth of field and the image quality, because in my opinion, a 1.2 will always go above and beyond a 1.4 because of the faster aperture and the low light quality of the image. But the thing is, if you put the Sigma and the Canon against each other on a portrait scene like here, you could not tell the difference. And that's a great thing about Sigma lenses. If you can't afford the Canon, please get the Sigma because it's cheaper. So that's about it. So hopefully you guys love this video, because I can't rate this lens enough. A 51.2 by Canon or a 51.4 by Sigma, for me, should be the next lens that you should get once you start getting better with this art with photography. If you want to step up your street game or your portrait game and you're sick of using your kit lens because you can't learn anymore, then by all means a 50mm focal range with a very, very shallow depth of field of a 1.2 or a 1.4 should be the next lens for you. So that's about it. Hopefully you guys loved this video. This is Karlo, aka Capture It, signing out. Peace and be safe. Boom.